Welcome to Indie Film Podcast. This episode is dedicated to indie film marketing mistakes and how you can avoid them because, trust me, we've already made them. Things like, when should you start marketing your film?
Why is marketing a film so unique?
Of course, some marketing strategies from films that we really love.
And why no one has ever seen our personal projects.
On that note, I'm Victoria.
And I'm Chuck. We're two micro-budget filmmakers. Join us this month as we talk about what to do with your completed film. And this episode is about movie marketing mistakes. Victoria, why is marketing so hard?
I think marketing a film is especially difficult because it's not even close to marketing a product, right? A tangible product, you basically get to choose. Am I really focused on how well this thing works? Am I really focused on a big problem that it solves? Or am I really focused on how much cheaper this one is than its competitors?
Okay.
Obviously, there's a little more subtlety to it than that. But
so competitive advantage is what goes on in marketing a product. And we should start this off by saying that you have worked in marketing for quite some time. You've also worked in SEO for large corporations.
Yes, that is fair.
International corporations.
Yes. So to be fair, I've done digital marketing for, oh my God, I've been doing digital marketing for 14 years now.
Well, there you go. So quite a bit of experience.
It's been a hot minute. It's changed a lot over the years.
So you've done stuff from products.
Yes.
And you currently work with products, mostly.
Sort of. I've actually usually emphasized software and technology is my primary. So it's usually B2B. I did do some B2C, business to business or business to consumer. I can say that.
Oh, good, because I don't know what B2B even meant.
Business to business or business to consumer. I'm sorry. I should, Anyway, let me throw out as many fun little acronyms as I can to really make me sound like I know what I'm talking about.
I know what ISO is. That's an acronym that...
It is.
We can probably use that on this podcast, but maybe the marketing things we can clarify.
We could clarify the marketing things. Yes. So I think film is really unique when it comes to a marketing strategy for a film because it's not... Nobody goes to a store to buy it. You don't look online for the cheapest price. You know what I mean?
No, because you know that's what you're gonna get what you pay for.
Well, yeah.
It's true. I mean, I guess, you pay more to go see a Marvel movie, but you're not necessarily gonna get any more than...
But you're gonna get exactly what you want. You're gonna get that itch scratched.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So that's almost like a product. The Marvel movies.
The Marvel movie, any major franchise might be considered a product at this point.
But as far as an indie film's concerned, you're going to approach that differently.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a little more difficult because it's not like, hey, this skin toner works really well. It's like, hey, these characters are relatable. These problems are relatable. Or it's dealing with a social issue that is pertinent to you and you care about. Or it's set in a location that is pertinent to you and you care about. How well did Napoleon Dynamite do here in Idaho? Because it was an Idaho film and people were so stoked on it.
Yeah, as excited as you all think people were about Napoleon Dynamite, here in Idaho, it's a different thing altogether. Everybody knows every single reference.
They will quote every single line. That dance is performed at least one high school talent show every single year. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a thing.
Yep.
It's a thing.
We all ride the bus with our action figure out the window, pulling it from a piece of string. There's just all these action figures out every single school bus window. You can hear the school bus coming from that too. Okay. Can you give me an example? Maybe I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Because Lower Gentry Studios has released 2 web series in completion on YouTube. We paid to have people watch the first episode of our first web series. It was Canyon County. We ended up getting like 9,000-ish views, and we wanted to hopefully build momentum on that. I don't even know what that means. That's just a phrase that I'm saying, I guess. And so with those 9,000, we were assuming that people would kind of spill over to episode 2 and episode 3, and they kind of did, but it was just like we ended up with 9K views, and then all the rest of them that we didn't advertise just dropped off to like 400 or 500, but it was consistent after that.
Okay. So you kept that was your base audience then, that 400 or 500.
And we didn't know what we were doing. We spent money to advertise because we thought, oh, okay, well, if we get enough viewers, then we'll get more followers on YouTube and we can do that thing that we hear about where people monetize. And this was back in 2019. I'm guessing it might have been a small percentage larger for viewership payment than it is now. I'm annoyed at YouTube because our own crap, our own films that we upload, we have to watch ads on that now. And back in 2019, you didn't have to do that. If you weren't monetized, they wouldn't put ads on your channel. And now they put ads on all the channels. Yeah. And so when I go back to watch my own film because I want to know what I did or I want to remember something like a cut that I made or a sound effect that I used, and I have to watch an ad. To see it because like all those finished projects are on a hard drive somewhere in another room, and it's like, oh, I could just pull it off of YouTube, and it's a pain. I hate it. Yeah. So thank you, YouTube, sarcastically, for making me watch an ad to watch my own project and then not pay me for it. So that rant's over.
Valid rant, though.
Yes.
Valid rant.
So we were trying to do the quote unquote monetize, and that didn't end up happening. Still not monetized, but it takes a lot of effort to be able to do that.
Standards for YouTube monetization have gone up substantially too, like the minimum requirements for it.
Yeah. What should we have done with that?
Oh, yeah, that is kind of putting me on the spot. Okay, so I will say, first of all, you had a really cool thing with Canyon County specifically, right? Because it was
the location that it took place. We filmed it in Canyon County. We called it Canyon County. It was a series about a social worker in Canyon County dealing with an aggressive, emotionally disturbed client.
Yes. And Canyon County is a popular county to live in Idaho. Outside of Ada,
it's the second most
populous. Yeah. So Canyon County is a pretty popular county.
Yeah.
So you had that going for you because a lot like Napoleon Dynamite, you could appeal to, hey, this is actually set in Idaho. These are locations you're going to recognize. These are landmarks you're going to notice. So I would say, what did your first ad look like?
We just ran an ad on Google Ads or YouTube. No, it was Google Ads is what was in existence.
You ran an ad on Google Ads.
So we just paid to have that actual first episode recommended to people. So
on YouTube?
It was on Google Ads.
Okay.
So we put it into the Idaho, like Southwest Idaho, like any of those zip codes. It would only pop up to people that were doing searches or recommended as a video. I think it did both. I'm not sure though. This was so long ago. This was like 2019, early 2019.
What was your watch rate? Like how long did people actually watch
it? It was low. It was real low.
Because I almost wonder if people were searching for like stuff to do. And then your video popped up and anyone was expecting it to be like a travel vlog kind of thing. Oh, but it ended up being a web series and they're like, what the shit is this?
Makes sense. Like, where are some good hiking trails in Canyon County? And then they get to watch a social worker
attempt to speak Spanish in a Mexican restaurant.
Yes. So that's probably something that we should have watched out for when we were targeting certain keywords for our ad. Okay.
Because it's audience intent, right? Okay. And especially back in 2019, the Google algorithm was still solid. Always knows what you want more than you know what you want.
We don't want to upset Google at all because they run the internet. So when this gets...
Just get on your knees and apologize and beg for forgiveness. It'll be fine. No. If you have to keep in mind not just who your audience is, but also the intent of what they're searching for.
Okay.
So for that one, I probably would have gone for a strategy of really emphasizing the social work side of things because that one, even outside of Idaho, would still be very relatable.
Okay.
Anyone in the social work series. I don't know if I would have done a Google ad for it per se because I don't know how many people are actually searching for shows about social work or shows set in Idaho or something like that. Like it may have gone up a little bit in recent memory, but I don't.
I think that was back when Google Ad Services was the only way to do a YouTube ad. So you could just have that pop up on a recommended video for people.
Kind of pre their own segmented display, search, all those. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, I would have definitely gone for like relatable social work, even appealing to, the comedic drama TV show kind of thing.
Okay.
Probably would have leaned into that a little bit because despite it being dramatic, it was funny.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember more of Canyon County to try to give you better options here.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying in general, you would want to keep in mind what your people need to be thinking about. They want to find people searching for a narrative film on YouTube. Probably would be the primary thing, like entertainment, because YouTube has so many instructional videos and a lot of podcasts now too.
So many podcasts.
So the instructional video aspect, you want to make sure that you're separating it out from that. So this is like people searching for narrative entertainment and then kind of diving in there.
And looking into the specifics there. So, but I think most importantly for something like that, you would really need to do a full-fledged strategy. Like you can't just advertise on YouTube and expect that to result in an audience that comes back to you over and over again.
Okay, because we just kind of like cast a wide net with our advertising, I'm pretty sure, because the view rate was low. But still, so you're looking at like, say, almost 10,000, right? And then 500 of those people went from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Roughly. So we cast that wide net, but only like 5% of the people that we paid to have see our thing was actually interested to watch the entire series.
See, I think what I would have done is taken the audience, and especially in 2019, you could still do this because it was before GA4, Google Analytics 4, and it was amazing because Google knows everything about you. Just accept it, lean in. Google knows everything about you. But back in 2019 especially, you could have looked at the individuals that were coming back, like maybe somebody who had watched episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
You could have segmented that out into its own audience.
Oh.
And then you could have run another ad when episode 4 came up and told Google to identify people that were in that audience and like that audience. So building a similar audience.
Well, what can you do about that now, though? Is there any way to tease that?
You can actually do similar stuff to it.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, though. The last few years, I've been mostly in organic, so I haven't done a lot of paid ad stuff.
These are chemical-free views. That's organic.
I hate organic food. Oh, man, that's going to upset the algorithm for sure.
Yeah.
If I start going on a rant about how much I hate organic food. Anyway, I believe there are still ways that you can tease out certain things from your audience that way. However, I know that within Google Analytics and especially YouTube Analytics, you can still dive in and see the people that are continuously looking at your things. Okay. And you can start to get an idea for their demographic, where are they located, and maybe start looking into why people located in that area are actually interested in your stuff. You can look into their age demographics. You can target similar interests. And some of that, unfortunately, is so creepy and stalkerish, but is definitely actually diving into who are your followers, pick a random segment of people that are actually following and subscribed to your channel, and take a look at what other interests they have and see if there are any patterns or overlap there. And yes, some of that is manual. Yes, there are paid programs that you can use that will dive into a lot of that stuff for you. But you're an indie filmmaker. You don't have the budget to throw in marketing tools and platforms because they're stupid expensive. Sprout Social is by far the best social media hub out there. It's amazing. I love Sprout Social. And it's also like, $150 per person per month.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
And the amount of time that it takes to market these things it's a lot.
It's exhausting. And you have to start before you're even done. That's one thing I really do want to hit on. Sorry. Did that give you enough for like what I think I would do?
Absolutely. In a few episodes, we're going to be talking about YouTube more specifically.
Okay, fair.
So we can get more into the weeds on that one. But yeah, let's talk about an actual feature film, because that's something that Lower Gentry Studios, I know we've released 3, and the most recent one is the one that's the highest quality that we can actually screen in a theater, and it works. It doesn't look like, so obviously a bunch of people learning how to work a camera.
It's come a little ways since the rented room in the library to screen We Speak.
Yeah, and we were we had it had a dead line of pixels in the projector as well, and all these people were very kind to watch the entire movie, and there was no way to get us a new projector. We're like, this projector is broken, and they're like, that's what happens when you have a free place to screen it.
Yeah, so, which major shout out to libraries for even offering things like that.
They're amazing.
And if you haven't done a test screening for your film yet and you really want to, because that should be an integral part of your marketing strategy, talk to your local library. Get involved with your local library because we should be supporting libraries more than ever now.
I agree with that completely. So we, on our feature film, did not really plan much in marketing, and it was great because you helped us out with in several instances in Stockton to Table Rock, and you definitely admonished us for not taking that into account early on, making sure that we had the font that we were going to use for branding from the beginning to the end, and it does make. You've shown me things with this podcast. It does make a big difference if you're like, we're going to do this color scheme for all of our marketing materials. We're going to use this font for in the credits, in the film, and on any materials that we use, we're going to use this font or this variation of this font for headings and subheadings. And then you're not spending all that brain power later on when you're doing graphic design and trying to figure out what font to use or where to put things. It's like already done.
And I will say that is one thing. Obviously, the brand recognition part of your colors, your fonts, your style, your general vibe and aesthetic is very important because you do want the brand recognition and awareness. However, the number one reason to do it is so that you don't have to get into a debate of going in circles about whether or not this font even works for this particular thing in this particular moment. And it's just a social media post. Why are we spending 4 hours discussing what font to use on it?
Yeah.
You can save yourself a lot of headaches.
Mm-hmm. So what would you do, assuming that you have, let's say you're lucky enough to get $25, $50, or $100,000 to make a film? What are you doing with the marketing? Like how much of that budget would you want to spend on marketing to make sure that the product that you have, the film that you make, the art you want to get out into the world, to make sure that that happens rather than whatever you make just stifling and only being something that your friends and family ingest?
Yeah. I would start my marketing as I'm finishing the script. That is how soon you should be starting your marketing. And I realize that most people have not gone through fundraising and stuff at that point.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily have the money for a lot of it. But anything at all, talking about this film, getting it out there, creating the specific like hashtags or whatever that you want to use to kind of set up the search for it and everything. Get those out there, get those going stupid early, earlier than you think you need to. At the same time, especially if your script is towards its final drafts, you've had a couple of read-throughs, you're feeling really good about things, this is a good time to start really thinking about where does my film have the most appeal. So for Stockton to Table Rock, we were
90-year-old women.
Not even just like
that's a crocheting movie that I'm working on later.
Stockton to Table Stitch.
Yeah.
So for your average film, think about all the things it covers, right?
Okay.
So what are other populations that would be into this? What are similar films and similar audiences that would be interested and into this? Are there any social causes that appeal specifically to people? Not even just the age demographic, but that was why you were working on, and I don't know how much of this we're allowed to talk about. So I'm going to talk about when I was doing a different film screening.
Okay.
And we were trying to figure out a really good way to make it a part of a bigger community involvement.
Right on.
And we wanted it to appeal to people. So we knew that we had a couple different films that kind of dealt with heavier stuff. It was, focused on like dramatic or abuse. And there were some things about, alt high school students at skateboard parks and things.
Okay.
So we got the Boise Skateboard Association and the Women's and Children's Alliance, which are both local charities here. Sorry for anyone that's outside of Idaho.
Yeah.
But we worked with them to specifically make sure that, okay, all the ticket sales for this event are going to go to, we're going to split it up evenly between these two charities.
Okay.
Because we're not in this for the ticket sale money. Even if we sell out this theater right now, because it was a bunch of short films and a couple of trailers.
Yeah, with everybody who's contributed all those short films, everybody's looking at whatever, 50 cents a head.
Yeah. I'm like, this isn't going to make money for people. This isn't going to this is not going to be the windfall of cash for this one individual screening, but it's going to be a fairly good chunk of change for each of these charities, which is a much smarter move because then those charities are excited to have an event. They're going to work with promoting it.
Yeah.
Not only are they going to work with promoting it, they're promoting it to an audience that matters to this film.
Okay, yeah.
And it's getting this film in front of more people that are more likely to care. So the skateboarding documentary short that screened there,
okay,
its target audience is skateboarders. The Boise Skateboard Alliance, which is a program, after school, usually hours type program to help at-risk youth with finding something more productive to do with their time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an audience that would care about this skateboarding documentary. So suddenly, the charity that we get to help and supporting a cause that we like anyway is now going to be talking about this film directly to people that care about it.
And then if those filmmakers have their social media ready,
Exactly.
hopefully they can pull some of that audience and have them share, and you get some snowball effect as far as
when people share it with their friends, they're going to be in a similar overlap of interest. So it's still going to be an audience that is pertinent to your film specifically. So those are just good ways to get involved with getting other organizations to help you promote your film and talk about it.
So I just want you to kind of go over this from the beginning-ish. Obviously, you want to have branding is a good thing to start with. And we learned that on our first feature film because we've had to struggle to figure out when we're coming up with a new post or coming up with a new poster or coming up with new materials. It's like, okay, well, now we're going to go back and kind of figure out what font we want to be using all the time and how we want to design these things because it didn't have any set parameters.
Yeah.
Except for like we use these boxy small boxy images for a lot of the things that we do. And the reason for that ended up being practical because we needed to print out a giant movie poster and we didn't have any high quality stills from when we were on set. We didn't have anybody taking pictures. And so we're like, well, we have 6K camera footage. So if we make it small enough and put enough of them in a checkerboard pattern, then we can print off a giant, poster as long as none of them are bigger than like 5x5 inches. Yeah. So that was the reason we came up with that design.
Smart. I like it.
But anyway, so branding, you want to start off with that?
You want to have really set branding and you want to start marketing your film as early as you can.
Okay.
You want to, oh boy, I'm going straight off into every average podcaster that's like, here's what you need to do. Because I'm also not doing this. I'm making a film right now and I have done none of this.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah. So like nobody that follows any of my socials even aware that I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. So keep in mind what media you own and what media you don't.
Yeah.
So your website and your mailing list. And if you don't have a mailing list, get one.
Oh, that's been a lifesaver for Lower Gentry Studios, honestly, because we started an email list. We started to create content specifically for the email list every month. That's on anonymous. What do they call that on YouTube where it's like unshared? You can upload
the private links.
Yeah, the private links. We have private links on YouTube, private links on Google Drive to like scripts and images and videos that we make for specifically for our newsletter subscribers. And, we'll get anywhere from $5 a month to we've had months where we get like $500 from the people that were just like, hey, give us a donation. If you like this content, like give us a few dollars. And it has worked to where we can pay for our Adobe subscription and where we can pay for our Google Drive space and emails and web server space. So definitely recommend newsletters.
Enough money to make like another little short film here and there to keep, doing the things you love and feed people on set. And yeah, it's really valuable. But that's literally it. That's all you own. Like you own the content that you create and post on social media, but you don't actually own that messaging because the algorithm is going to decide who it shows it to. Yeah. You don't actually get to control that. It feels like you do. Mm-hmm. Which is nice of them to let you have that feeling. But you don't own that. You own your mailing list, you own your website. Make sure you're using those to your best advantage and you're putting all your best stuff there first and foremost. That's your hub. And then after that, finding other pertinent things that really count and matter to your specific audience. Finding other local organizations or national organizations are great too. By all means, do national organizations. And just reach out to them, talk to them. A lot of times they're looking for people to partner with. And if your film has a really strong message, then hey, you also get to help out a charity that you actually give a shit about. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's, the community and village that is required to make a film successful.
And it's a certain juncture, it's important to get enough eyes on it at first so that you can then hopefully make money on the back end.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about, let's say you have $25,000 for a short film. Do you want to talk about what you would do as far as marketing budget, and do you have any idea how you could make any money?
Oh, man. It's complicated, and it always depends on the film, right? So
let's say it's good. Let's say it's
I'm gonna assume it's
good horror. Let's say it's a horror movie that's well executed, and it's like
horror is
8
tough
minutes
because
long.
Horror can kind of sell itself sometimes.
True.
Everybody loves horror films.
That's I guess like horror thriller. That's universally
those tend to do really well.
Okay,
but start doing some digging. Look into how much it costs to do a press release, and realistically, how many are important for you to do. Should you do one right when you kick off? Do you have a really big name actor that you actually got to agree to come on and do this? Do you have a theater screening or a local festival or anything like that you're going to be doing? How many press releases do you need? How much are those going to cost each of you? There are a lot of online resources that let you just kind of publish your own through PR Newswire or whatever.
Yes.
And you can publish those and then see how many local agencies pick them up. Media outlets pick them up. You can go onto LinkedIn and you can hunt down every single local or national, whoever, it doesn't matter. Look up your favorite reporters that talk about things. Send them the press release. Send them a few exclusive photos of BTS photos from your shoot and let them know you're very open and available for any questions they have. And they're also very welcome to use those photos because that reporter's the only one you sent them to. They are the only ones with the rights to those photos. It makes them feel good. It gives their content sort of an exclusive hit. Like there are a lot of ways you can work this and stretch your dollar budget farther if you're willing to put in the legwork yourself, or pay $2,500 and hire a PR person to do it for you if you really hate it.
They'll usually just give you like a month for about that amount of money. And I want to point out that the press release thing was something that you taught us at Lower Gentry Studios, and we could not get the media to pay any attention to our independent film that we produced here in Idaho, in Boise. We filmed it. We reached out to all the news outlets, all the radio outlets, crickets. We paid $100 to do our own press release that we wrote up ourselves.
Google the formatting. The formatting is specific. You have to be careful about how it's formatted because certain places won't even pick it up if you don't. But yes, you can easily write your own press release.
And as soon as we wrote our own press release, we linked to the press release in our emails to the local press. And next thing you know, we're in the weekly publication. We got local news outlets sharing our story. And it took, for whatever reason, it took that initial step. And I think a lot of it is most people don't want to do the work and write an article. They just want to copy and paste something. So you got to do it yourself, and then they'll take it.
And if you can sweeten the deal to each of those little media outlets, each individual person that you're LinkedIn messaging or emailing or whatever, if you can sweeten the pot with, like I said, BTS photos, extra quotes from people on set or involved in the film in some way, shape, or form, anything like that that gives them an edge over the other publications that might be writing about it, do it. Yes, it takes time for you, but it actually makes the people writing about it care, so maybe you should.
Yeah, these were all really good lessons that you helped us out with, so greatly appreciate it.
Well, I want to highlight one marketing strategy that I thought was just so well done, and I think is a perfect example of why you should start marketing your film early. And no matter how you felt about the movie Longlegs, you cannot deny that that is the best marketing I have seen for film in such a long time. It was brilliant. They have all these weird, creepy billboards with this phone number you can call. They've got an entire website built and dedicated all to this serial killer that I'm pretty sure was not a real serial killer. They were a fake person they made up for this movie. But suddenly that serial killer has an entire bio on Wikipedia.
Oh, that's cool.
It was so well done. It was so thorough, and it got people talking about this whole era and instance before you ever even saw a trailer for the film. It was so good. The best marketing strategy I've seen in cinema.
Gabbo. It's a Simpsons reference. You'll have to look it up. You don't know what it is.
Look it up later.
That's awesome.
Okay.
And before we wrap up, one thing I want to point out is that for this podcast specifically, we got together with this idea to make an independent film podcast, and you have been spearheading the marketing on that, and I have been learning a lot. So this specific instance, unlike your short films, which you're saying we should have or I should have done this, for this podcast, you are doing the hashtag research.
Yeah.
We're cutting all this stuff into vertical video for everybody, but that's where you got to go. Where they go initially, and it is helping us immensely because it's not one of those things where we started by asking all of our friends and family members to subscribe to us and to follow us. We are just going to start this. we're going to make it, and then you're going to do whatever keyword magic and whatever hashtag magic to try to find the people that are going to be actually interested in watching it instead of just, our friends and family members that may or may not be interested in it. But the thing is like our family members that are already and friends that are indie filmmakers are following us. So thank you, all of you that are doing that. But we didn't do the go on Facebook Messenger or go on your DMs and DM everybody. This is like 100% just sharing it. And
I would say that if you're gonna go that route of asking all your friends and family to follow you or, pay whatever agency for like 1 million likes or something like that, you can. But keep in mind that doing so gets you that immediate bump in fellowship and whatnot, but it's not going to get you a bump in interaction necessarily. And worst of all, it's going to ruin your analytics. All that data that I was talking about before that you can get from your audience about their age, their other interests, their location, their gender, their whatever. All that information is suddenly useless to you because it's just filled with people that are only there because of a moral imperative because it's your father and they have to. Like, it's not actually useful information that you're able to garner from this anymore, especially if you're paying for them.
Okay.
So do that if you really need the bump. But if you don't and you can do the slow burn build, do the slow burn build. But also, for the love of God and anything holy or unholy or whatever you believe, don't make an individual social media account for every single film you make, especially if you're making short films.
Okay.
Just do your production company at first, because if you don't, you know how exhausting it is to create a social media post for every day of the week? You're not going to have to do that for every single one of your channels that you have still running and alive right now. You're going to have to do that in perpetuity until the day you die, and your life will be nothing else. That got a little dark there for a second. I'm so sorry. But either way, I stand by it. If you've got a really big budget, one single feature that you're working on, awesome, cool, run with it, do its own thing. But especially when you do multiples, and if there's any overlap in style or interest, then suddenly you have a pre-built audience already going into it. Why would you split that up? I don't get it. I see people do that, and I just don't get it.
So just production company, especially if you're indie film.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great advice. And then one thing I also want to point out to everybody as far as my learning on the marketing end is the podcast that we make, this actual episode, the amount of time that you and I spend together to record this and prep this.
Yeah.
You and I probably spend the same, if not more amount of time per episode on the back end creating the content, cutting it up, figuring out hashtags, scheduling posts. And so I would say it's like 3-1 in favor of all the back end admin things that have nothing to do with creating the actual episode. And if I had, and Lower Gentry Studios had spent that amount of effort on the back end on some of our film projects, it would have probably paid dividends, especially on some of our earlier projects and a lot of our YouTube content that we made.
Especially the web, like the serial projects on YouTube are you want to build that audience and then you want to hit it hard with them and keep reaching out to them.
Yeah, but to do due diligence on this, it's very time consuming because it doesn't actually take for a one camera shot and the audio situation I have set up, like processing the episode and uploading that doesn't take very long, but figuring out how we chop stuff up and share it and scheduling posts, it's so time consuming compared to the actual content creation. And that's been edifying for me.
Good.
Yeah. So don't underestimate how much time is necessary for marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot.
On that note, should we have a succinct farewell, or is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think now we gotta get to the marketing side of this now. We've spent enough time recording.
All right. Well,
market.
Succinct. Goodbye.
Bye.